Yeah, this is Detlef of Wake News Radio, Wake News TV. We do have our special guest, Carl-Peter Hofmann, again here with us. We are actually in Italy currently, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And we would like to know a little bit more about your efforts concerning GCLC and GPORD, because there are news to be told. So maybe you give us a little background for all of those who would not know you, so people have an overview of what you're doing.
Well, what we're doing is helping to find justice on a voluntary basis. We have established the Global Common Law Court in order to lay a foundation for many that cannot find a way to deal with the matters. And we are there now after long preparation, for the ones who do not know, since 16th of October 2016. And the Global Common Law Court and its sister court now, the Global Public Offenders, Rapists and Debtors Register, are human rights organizations as courts that are based on the highest law on the planet, which is recognized by the real Jews, by the real Muslims, and also by the real Far Eastern religions, and you might not believe it, even by the real Christians. And the whole court system is based around Matthew 18:15 to 17, where it says that if your brother has something against you, go and see him, you alone. And this is the first thing in this community. We cannot act as a court if people are not willing or not have made efforts to talk to each other to sort it out. If one party is unwilling, then this is the next part in verse 16. It says, if your brother doesn't hear, then you take one or two witnesses. And this is where the community comes in, not as the court as such, although it is part of the court proceeding. Excuse me. And if it still cannot be solved with the mediators, then the court itself comes into force. So this is then a real court hearing. The difference between most of the courts, unless you speak about the common law courts as they are today, still in the United States or in a few other places, even in London is one, although nobody is really supposed to use it. And in some other countries in the Commonwealth area, there is the judge for the court proceedings, but not ruling. The ruling is done by the members of jury, and there needs to be at least 13. So what we have to strive for is, in these courts, a anonymous ruling. This means it cannot be 51-49 or higher. It must be 0-100. Yeah? So it's 100% must say not guilty, or 100% must say guilty. Yeah? If that is not guaranteed, then there is no conclusion. So the procedure would then say, okay, we have to restart the trial with a different jury in order to get to the point that one or the other, because the idea, the biblical idea, is unity, and the minimum of 13 members of jury representing the community. So if they are split, then that means the community is split, and that is something that biblically must not happen. Yeah? Unity is the most important thing in the functioning of the community, and that needs to be based obviously on brotherly love. So it has to be on truthfulness. Otherwise, you cannot reach unity forever. So that is what we are doing, and our court is membership based for one reason, not for financial reasons, simply because both courts have got a constitution, and the constitution has to represent what the biblical foundation says, and we need members of the community to adhere it. If anyone doesn't want to be in the community, they don't need to sign it. But once they say, yeah, I want to be part of it, then they have to fit into it, and they have to perform life, to perform justice, and have to be truthful. And this is the basic. And where we need helping each other, we need helping each other. Period. And this is basically what the both constitutions are about. So, and everyone who is breaking these is then out of this community, because if they don't want to do it, they do not need to be with us. So that should be the constitution sorted. And we are working set on the biblical foundation. We do not work on statutes or rules, regulations. We're working with principles and the resulting laws. And there is very few laws in the Bible. The number one law, or the two of them, is in Matthew 22:37-40, where it is said that we should love our Creator, our Father in heaven, above everything, and our neighbor like ourselves. Don't need any other laws, strictly speaking, because it is clear. If I love myself as yourself, I'm not going to see you to punch your nose. I'm not going to murder you, not going to rob you, not going to slander you. Love would not allow me to do that. So everyone who is not doing this is guilty according to the two laws. You can clearly come to the conclusion then a violation of that love is murdering. Yeah, that's a pretty strong violation. Sometimes we all do things which are not correct, but there the Bible says, okay, it can be settled. Go, speak, heal it. Yeah? And if you have done harm or loss, these are two offenses, crimes, however you want to call it. They are a result of a non or an unloving action. Yeah? So it is pretty clear what the whole thing is about. And if you have that as a foundation, then you should be able to sort the two laws and the procedure and the knowledge, no harm, no loss. You should be able to settle things. If that cannot be settled with 4 levels of how to deal with it, one after another, then nothing in this world can be settled. And this was done with great wisdom by the one who made us, who gave these principle, the procedures, how to act. We're just using it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fundamental difference to the current ruling judicial system, obviously, because this is all, based on maritime law, and basically is being misused for a private organization which is called the Bar Association. This is one of the parts where you have developed the affidavit of truth in order to eliminate the 12 bar assumptions, which are basically, indicting everyone who is going to attend a court anywhere in the world. Is that so?
It's not quite correct what you say, because I'm not laying claim to it that I am the one who has done this the first ever. Other people have gone this route. We made a little bit of a difference from the structuring of the affidavit, and the affidavit is an instrument where you entrust a declaration. There's quite a few points to it, because it has to do with trust, with bringing to you, declare, and so on. It's quite an interesting word when you go down to the roots, what is involved in it. So it is an oath on paper, strictly speaking, and this oath on paper has also the effect to settle the score in the courtroom. So what we did different is that we clear from square one what law is applicable. So that's a biblical law, highest law on the planet, very simple, and this is our foundation. So everyone has to go with it, because you cannot insist on a lower ranking law if someone insists on the higher ranking law. So the highest law is the one that goes, and everything else is a matter of allowance from either side then. So since we have established the law as the first part in the affidavit, and then we go to the second part of the affidavit, which clears that accusations done are not allowed because they're not true. And this is where the 12 presumptions of the bar come into discussion. So the presumptions, or the 12 key presumptions of the Bar Association, they bring us from the human state into the dead legal fiction. And that is only for the purpose of milking financially. So people might not understand, the problem is most of them do not even know what the assumptions or the presumptions of the bar are. A presumption is an accusation or a claim, and if I do not refute it or rebut it, then I'm guilty. Most of people do not want to understand this, but it is like this. Even the Bible accepts that. That's why Matthew 18:15 says, if your brother holds something against you, go and see him. It's not, oh, you may go or you may not. It is clearly behind the go, you could make exclamation mark. Yeah? Is an order, is a biblical order. And why is that? That is to bring out the truth, and the Bible stands for truth. So if I do not bring out the truth, what else do I want to do? So here they made a false accusations, or 12 of them, is against us. So we need to go and clear that. So whatever you do, number 1 to 12, is a no-no. Yeah? And we have to clearly do that. At the same time, we, as GCLC and the G-PORD, we are not people for civil proceedings. Yeah? But civil proceedings is nonsense. This is about as good as playing Monopoly. You have a big city in the end, or buy roads, but what for is not worth anything. If someone has done something wrong, it needs settled. If they deny it, it's criminal anyway. So we give them the opportunity in the affidavit to say, okay, you did it. And what you did partly was intentional. We can prove that. So it's already criminal. Go and heal it, settle it, sort it out, stop and correct. If they do it, then we settle the damage. If they don't do it, it will be criminal. So it will be then dealt with accordingly. This is what the biblical idea of a court system is, where the main point is not that I'm making money like in the courts as we know them out of the common law courts. It is to prevent damage and to keep the unity of the community. So, and all the satanic activities are against that. And you go to an ordinary or so-called court, what do you get there? You don't get a settlement, you don't get unity, you get only a headache, and the other side, the judges and the legal system gets the money. That's nothing got to do with justice. So that's working against the interest of our Creator, and all what is against the interest of our Creator is satanic, period. And that is where we're trying to make the difference. So we have that in the 12th key presumption of the Bar Association. But there is a little bit more to that. We have also other contractual things which they try to implement by defrauding us. That is in his affidavits cleared. And finally, the fourth part is about the accusations or the claims we make, which must be based on truth. But declaration cannot have lies in it. So we have to list their deeds done, and they then can work from there and say, okay, we heal it. Or if they are able to refute it, rebut it, then point by point, not just a single point, then obviously that is settled as well, each point which they can rebut. But so far, in the many thousands affidavits, there was not a single accusation or article, which each article is an accusation, rebutted.
Yeah, I think that's the obvious problem in the current judicial system. And many judges and other clerks in the system are being prosecuted now by using the system which you have set up, I mean the common law court or G-PORD. Now, there are many developments taking place. Could you give us a little outlook of what the plan is or what the status is, and then what the plan is?
Well, since we started, we have expanded to now 17 countries of activity. And wherever we go, we try to implement the principle of what the people really want. We have in several countries making good progress. Of course, we are far too small to make all the progress in the world there, because we have to fight. Take it for example, Germany. We have to fight against the deeds of 5,000 state attorneys or prosecutors and 15,000 judges, and that is a lot of work. So you need quite a big organization to undo the damage they do. And that will be Germany only, but you have nearly another 200 constructs where the same things happen, or a lot of it. So we have not made a global impact, but we have made an impact locally. we brought a lot of the cases to standstill or withdrawal, and now we are in process to have publicized what they started in Poland with a register that is official, publicly viewable. We do this on a much larger scale, not national. We do it globally. That goes out or starts out from the Philippines, where that register is located. And we want to help people, therefore, to identify criminals, to do their part to clear the records as well, or to make them clear. That is in process, and also we are now in preparation to get the damage settled by the right partners we cooperate who do their job to sort the settlement. That means do a real bailiff's work and claim what rightfully on the biblical foundation is due. One thing we cannot deal with is anything that is formal stuff. So statutes do not interest a common law court because it is immaterial to the common law, the biblical law, whether you go 50 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour, when 30 miles an hour formally the thing to be done, then it doesn't mean that you can go 30 miles an hour. It means that situations will allow you to go 50, 70, 100 miles an hour, and there will be in the same spot situation where you should not do more than 10 miles an hour because it would be reckless. Yeah, and the biblical foundation is not about making rules, regulations, and statutes just for the sake of making them. It is made for people to act responsible and reasonable. I don't see the point when I have a clear motorway in the night and there is no one being disturbed in its sleep, why I should, for example, in the US, go some 55 miles. Yeah, bicycles can exceed that in these days, even when they. There's no point in that. Yeah? On the other hand, you cannot go 55 in a traffic jam, and there's people who try to be stupid. I mean, they do put a lot of effort into it. It seems like the point is there. We want to prevent doing damage. So if I would be approached as a judge and said, oh, somebody has done just 136 miles down the motorway, then my question as a judge is, okay, where's the problem? Has any harm been done? No, then I can't deal with it. Biblically, I cannot deal with it. If someone comes and say, oh, he's accused of having done harm and loss, but he was allowed to drive even 20 miles faster than he did. And I say, okay, I'm not interested in what he is allowed to. Has he done harm and loss? Yes, okay, then I have to deal with it. Yeah. That is very simple. And all the unnecessary rules and regulations, and that is in specifically in places like Germany or in the United Kingdom, you have very funny roads, and there's one road I had to use regularly, and I wasn't the only one who noticed that, obviously, because it became sometimes public. It was a public inquiry toward the so-called authority, where they had over a stretch of not even 3 miles, 13 changes of speed. Yeah, limitation,
speed limits, yeah.
Speed limits, yeah. And nobody is. This is idiocy, because it doesn't serve a purpose other than making money, and it is very unsafe for people, or even dangerous. Because when people see and jump on the brakes where there's no need, because they said, am I in it? And since they have in these days more boards up than trees in the wood or in the woods, it is so confusing. You can't see everything anymore. It's impossible. So that is irresponsible. That is nonsense. Yeah? And this is where we would go and act, because if someone puts up boards like that, that means they are creating danger, they are creating harm and loss, and we make them suffer for that too. So that's what we are doing.
Yeah, now, as we come to the end of our show today, there have been, let's say, difficulties in setting up a website, because forces within the system do not like, a global common law taking over certain parts of the judicial system, which is basically there in order to make money. So you are disturbing those circles with your activities, and there have been some issues with websites and so forth, and contact addresses by email. But the organization is working on solutions, and I think the new website, or one of the new websites, is coming soon. But interested people are able to contact the GCLC and GPORD already. What can you say to that? Can you give us some email addresses where people can turn to?
Well, at the moment, the address to turn to would be globally general at gport.info. The GPORD is not a port; it is a Global Public Offenders, Rapists and Debtors Registry. So it's a D for Delta, not a tango at the end. So again, general at gport.info. That's where they can reach us. At the moment, I must say always at the moment, because they have been shutting down so many email addresses. Unfortunately, they try to tap into many things, because we are a real danger, as it seems to them. And it went even that far, as you know, that they made attempts to murder. And they have also beaten up a number of our people, so really, really violently acted against them, misused certain forces, executive forces, which obviously, most likely don't even know themselves that they have been fraudulently brought into.
Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, and so we have this address, but we do our best to stay on, and we have got a network of people who become more and more known. So that would be then the second line of attack, to try to get information. But we do our best to be present as much as possible.
Yeah, there will be regional emails, country-wise, available soon. Maybe we can add a little list onto the description of the video. Yeah, I think for the time being, that's quite some information for lots of people. And one of the issues is you shouldn't have any fear, because fear is actually working for the other party. And we have the highest behind us, the highest law and the highest entity, which is supporting our efforts. What do you think?
Definitely. We have, in so far, the support that we use the highest level, and if we are working in line with what the highest level is and promote it and promote the righteousness of it, then we have a certain amount of backing. That we are not immune because of that, and our creator is not declaring us immune to that, because that would be being partial. So that must be clear too. But we definitely have that, and just briefly to the fear you just mentioned, they try to make us fearful or being full of fear. We should put that in the right perspective. Try to find in England and Wales, where I have done a lot of work, they are often pretending to have first names which are false. Mm-hmm. You will have great difficulties to find their private details. As soon as you have got their private details, the sound changes dramatically. And I have just had something against me. The details of the one which is a judge who is not happy, and a financial department director who I'm after for certain things. They had all their details blacked out. There's on what was sent to me as some sort of an order, and nobody signed this order. Nobody had a seal put to it. No one is responsible in the paper. Is no one to write to or to say to hold responsible. No one even put below that as a lower on behalf of or anything, a signature, not even a name there. There's a paper that is strictly speaking of no legal consequence, although they try to abuse this and say, we sent you this and blah blah blah, but it is a fraudulent piece of paper in order to create something, and because of their fear that we could get them privately, because of the private liability they're having now, that's why they do that. So they have got much, much more fear than we ever should have.
And the only way they can put up fear on us is by using the forces of police and other security agencies. But this is also a fraud towards those, because they are misusing those police forces. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely, because they're trying to shift the blame, and they are going even that far that they never give them a piece of paper or contract, because it needs to be assigned to in writing, and they are not giving them the legal papers to do so. They're just handing them out something just to do the job. And this is fraudulent, because once we want to take it on, we didn't give them anything. They have done this. Of course, they are not getting away, because we go for the one who initiated the paper, not who carries them. The ones who carry them come into it, and they have now the choice to say, okay, you defrauded us. You told us stories. Now we go against you in the legal battle, or they making the mistake and keeping the sites, and then they will be held privately liable, and that means they pay out of their pocket. No insurance is covering that.
So there's a lot of danger for you if you're listening from official services like police or other security agencies. So be careful. Try to be on the right track. Yeah, I do thank you a lot, Karl-Peter, that you have presented your latest knowledge and the developments. Thank you very much. And do you have any last comment to make to our audience?
Well, feel free to contact us. Feel free to join. And if you do not join us, do it with the other groups who do the same. We work together more and more anyway. Make sure that you are becoming a community, a crowd who can stand up peacefully, but stand up against the corruption. And then you're doing the best you can do for yourself and for your children.
Yeah, and help your neighbor, help your fellow human, and then we will win. Thank you very much.